Good evening, everyone. Mark Latham here. Thought I'd do a posting this evening. I've been watching something and very, very different from what we'd normally do. I just printed off some facts. And there were so many facts there about hummingbirds. And you know what? They're incredible. What an amazing bird. I didn't know anything about them really. I saw a picture of hummingbirds. And you see them on the TV, and these tiny little birds flying around, seem to be hovering like a helicopter everywhere they go. And I've never really actually looked into the facts behind a hummingbird, and so I decided to just Google it and see what came up, and there were many different sites on them, but I just printed one off, and I thought I'd just share it because they're incredible, absolutely incredible. So if you're not interested in nature, you'll find this absolutely boring. If you are interested in God's creatures, because they all come in different shapes and sizes and in so many different variants, this particular bird is like a little angel. It's an incredible, beautiful creation. And so here goes. I'm just going to read these facts to you and just share them with you while you're having a cup of tea or whatever, and see what you think. I'm not going to keep using, I mean, there's a whole list of this stuff going all the way down. I'm not going to keep saying hummingbird, so I'll just talk about them right at the beginning. As a hummingbird, so that's all I'm talking about. Hummingbirds are the tiniest birds in the world. They can flash their bright colours, as well as hide them when they need to. So they flash them, hide them, flash them, hide them. The bright radiant colour on these birds comes from iridescent colouring, the same sort of colouring that you get on a soap bubble or prism. Do you know that type of colour? Well, that's exactly the type of bright radiant colour that is actually all over these particular birds. Their brain is 4.2% of its body weight. 4.2% of its body weight. The largest proportion in the bird kingdom. Amazing. They're very smart, and they can remember every flower they go to, that they have been to, and how long it will take for the flower to refill. They can hear better than humans. They can see farther than humans. They can see ultraviolet light. They have little or no sense of smell. They use their tongues to lap up the nectar from flowers and feeders. Their tongues. I didn't know that. I saw this great big beak on a hummingbird, but I didn't realise they actually had this great big tongue inside. The tongue is grooved like the shape of a W, and there are tiny hairs on the tip of the tongue to help lap up the nectar. The beak is generally shaped like any other beak, just longer in proportion to its body. The edges of the bird itself, the top beak, will overlap the edges of the bottom beak, and the bottom beak itself is actually very flexible. They do not drink through their beaks like a straw. They lap up nectar with their tongues. Now, here's an interesting fact. Their heart beats up to 1,260 times per minute. And when they're resting, it goes down to 250 times per minute. Their heart is 2.5% of their total body weight. They take about 250 breaths per minute while they're resting. 250 breaths per minute. their metabolism is roughly 100 times that of an elephant. They're so weak with their feet that they can barely walk. They much prefer to fly. They love to perch, and they spend most of their life perching, not flying. Most of their time is spent on a perch. Their body temperature is about 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Their size is about, on average, about 8.5 centimeters long from the tip of their beak to the tip of their tail. Now you've got to remember that the hummingbird has got a really long beak anyway, so from tip to tail they are 8.5 centimeters, which I have my daughter's ruler here, which is that there, 8.5 centimeters, that tiny little bit there. And that is from beak to tail. That's not including the body. And you know, that's not just measuring the body. I find that amazing. They are so small. They can weigh anywhere between 2 and 20 grams. A penny weighs 2.5 grams. Right, what else we got? 30% of their weight consists of flight muscle. In comparison, human pectoral muscles are about 5% of body weight. The female birds are usually larger than the male birds. An average sized bird will have about 940 feathers. That's quite incredible. Only 940 feathers. Females find iridescent feathers attractive. They don't mate for life, and the males don't do anything to help raise the young. The females do all of the nest building as well. And the baby birds, the chicks, generally are smaller than a penny. The females will lay a clutch of just 2 eggs each time, just 2. The chicks can't fly, and they remain in a nest for about 3 weeks. Only 3 weeks. Boom, and then they're off. This is interesting. Most of them, all of the different varieties of them, die within the first year. But those that survive after the first year have an average lifespan of about 5 years. Some can actually live for 10, depending on the environment that they're living in. The record is 12 years, one that was actually tagged. The males are extremely aggressive and will chase another male out of its territory the minute it gets a sniff that there's something going on. Here we go. Here's another interesting fact. Their wings will beat about 70 times per second. 70 times a second. This is a bird. And amazing. While they're diving, they actually beat 200 times a second, sorry. 200 times a second when they're diving. Incredible. They're the only birds that can fly both forwards and backwards. They can also hover in midair, fly sideways, and even upside down. They can fly an average of 25 to 30 miles per hour. Per hour? Miles? And they can dive up to 60 miles per hour. Their wings will rotate in full circle. Full circle they rotate. The ruby-throated hummingbird, they have been known to travel 500 miles over the Gulf of Mexico to breeding grounds. The ruby-throated one, again, talking a bit, can actually, takes about 20 hours to fly across the Gulf of Mexico. Some of them will actually travel over 2,000 miles twice a year during migration times. Ah dear. The rufous hummingbird travels the farthest north and all the way from Mexico to Alaska. That most of them do not migrate on the backs of geese, as this myth goes. They don't do that. They need to eat, on average, 7 times per hour for about 30 to 60 seconds. 7 times an hour they need to eat. They can eat anywhere from half to 8 times its body weight a day. They will visit an average of 1,000 flowers per day for a nectar. 1,000 flowers. Here's another interesting fact. I didn't know that they ate soft bugs for protein. Yeah, apparently they do. They will lap up nectar at a rate of about 13 licks per second. 13 licks per second. They can double their body weight before migration. Most of them will not get addicted to feeders filled with nectar. They will leave when they need to. These birds have got brains. They know what they're doing. They're not predictable. They have a brain which is very different from a lot of other birds that follow things in parrot fashion. This lot seem to know exactly when they've had enough of something and they move on to something else. Their brain is extremely active inside that tiny little body. Now, when they go into torpor, there's a thing when they sleep at night, they go into this hibernation-like state called torpor. They do it to conserve energy. Torpor, T-O-R-P-O-R. And when they're in this torpor, their metabolic rate is 1/15 of normal sleep, and they can save up to 60% of their available energy by going into this torpor. Their heart rate can drop to as few as 50 beats per minute. They can lower their body temperature to as low as 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And when they're actually in this torpor, they will appear dead. You might find one, and if you saw one, picked it up, you'd think it was dead, and you might actually just put it in the bin, thinking it was dead, but no, it's not. They can quite often be found hanging upside down while they're perching, while they're in this state of coma. It can take up to an hour for these hummingbirds to fully recover from their torpor. Well, I know how that feels. If they stay in it too long, it can be fatal to a weak one. They're only found naturally in the Americas, and they are found as far north as Alaska. I didn't know that. They're also found as far south as Chile. They're the second largest family of birds in the Western Hemisphere, and there are more than 300 different types of species around. Most types of species of hummingbirds are found in South America. The county of Ecuador has the largest number of species, and there are more than 50 types of hummingbird that breed in Mexico. There are 15 types of species found that breed in the United States, and 3 types that breed in Canada. Wow. Their favourite colour is red. They don't sing, they chirp. They like tubular types of flowers. And they pollinate their flowers by rubbing their forehead and face in each flower as they get the nectar. And many plants, as we know with nature, depend on the hummingbirds for pollination. They get their name from the humming sound produced by the wings, and the early Spanish explorers called hummingbirds flying jewels. Well, I'm sorry if I bored a few people with that. I wanted to share it because there's so many other facts. I looked at other websites and many other things that we could bring out about the hummingbird. A tiny little creature that lives on this planet, goes about its business and living a life of being busy, 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 like a bumblebee, but it's a bird. And there it is, fascinating all of us with the facts of this tiny little creature that can travel across the Gulf of Mexico in a few hours. And it's so tiny. I find that sort of thing amazing. It makes me realize that the world I live in, I know nothing about. God's creatures are incredible in their depth and in their diversity, from the depths of the ocean to the highest peaks of mountains. We have creatures that we're surrounded by, and I find it awe-inspiring because I know we're all wonderfully made, and all of these things are to His glory. I find it incredible. So yes, wanted to share it, and thank you very much for everybody's support and love that we're feeling, and I hope everybody's safe out there. And the Christmas lights have just gone on here in Cheltenham, and my wife has just finished putting up the Christmas decks and I'm sure we'll be doing some postings on the Christmas cake very shortly, which we've made. So I'll be interested to just know how everybody else is around the world. Please let us know. We love you all very much, and we're just saying hello, really, and we just love everyone. So hopefully speak to a few of you shortly, and I know that there is some activity going on. I'm involved in certain things as well. There's a lot of good news out there within the so-called apostate army. We are, I can feel it, many of us doing things, being busy as hummingbirds in our own little ways, all to the glory of our Lord Jesus Christ. But we're advancing His ministry now, and there's lots of things happening that we can only sing with joy about, and I'm chuffed to bits to know that all of us in this family are playing a part in that, and it's important, and it's lovely to see other members around the country and around the United States also doing the same. So we're looking forward to carrying on exposing the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society as a cult, which it is, freeing as many Jehovah's Witnesses as we can to Jesus Christ, we hope, because we love them all, and remaining close to Him. Why am I bringing up hummingbirds? I don't know. I just find them amazing. Statistically, everything about them makes me feel very, very humble. I could never create something like that. I really couldn't. And none of us could. But we live in a wonderful world. If we only open our eyes, it makes us feel humble. And I say thank you to my Creator for that. And I know I'm in good hands. All of us are. So, hopefully, I'll speak to you later. Bye for now.